First of all, let me welcome all of you to the Barnes Park Amphitheater here in the city of Monterey Park. And it's truly an honor to stand before you as the new mayor of the city. You know, it's been a terrific journey. And what I'm going to do is spend the next 15 minutes sharing you the story of this journey, of how a young boy from Saskatchewan, Canada, ended up here at City Hall in Monterey Park. I also want to share with you memorable quotes in my past of people who have said things to me that I will always remember, who have also helped me through this journey. You know, there's a Chinese saying, and the English translation is, when you drink water, think of the source, which means remember the people that helped you from the beginning. My journey began when I was 17 years old, and my mother asked me where I wanted to go to college. My parents had high expectations for me, being the youngest of four and the only son. So the answer that I gave my mom actually shocked her. See, my paternal grandfather gave me my Chinese name, Hok Yi. I was actually named after a Confucius scholar because my grandfather wanted me to have a college education. So my answer to my mother when I said, I didn't want to go to college, Mom. I want to move to China and learn Kung Fu. It's a true story. So my mother quickly picked up the phone and called her sisters, her brother, and her parents. And her sisters and brothers lived in the Hillcrest area of Monterey Park. And basically asked them, you need to talk some sense into my son. He wants to move to China and learn Kung Fu. So I received the call. I spoke to them, my relatives, and they convinced me to move to Monterey Park and attend college here. In Monterey Park, I lived with my maternal grandparents, my aunt and my great-grandmother. And they helped me a great deal. They took care of me while I was out here for college. And I grew fond of my grandfather because, like his generation of men that came to America in the when they were in their late teens and early 20s, a lot of them served in the U.S. Service. My grandfather served in the U.S. Army during World War II and was stationed in Arkansas. I've always grew fond of listening to his stories. And I would always drive him on Saturdays to Chinatown in Los Angeles, where he met with his relatives and his friends, and they talked about raising money for their local elementary school back home in China. Little did I know that as a grandson that just sat there eating rice porridge and listening to these stories, that I know that in reflection that my grandfather probably would have been proud of the fact that I'm raising funds for the local schools here in our city in Monterey Park. You know, my grandfather was a very giving person. I remember walking down Broadway Street in Los Angeles, and without breaking stride, he would reach in his pocket and give a homeless person some money. And I would ask my grandfather, how do you know that the money that you just gave him isn't going to be used for alcohol or drugs? And the response to me was, do not concern yourself with how he's going to spend the money. Just remember to give. And I will always remember what he said to me. You know, after I graduated with my MBA in finance, I went back to Canada to help my parents at a family-owned restaurant that we operated. And my mother handed me a wet towel, and she said, go wipe the tables. And I turned to her, I said, wow, with all that education, you know, boy, if I went back and earned a PhD, will you still ask me to wipe tables? She said, yes, because you're my son. And what I learned from that is, it doesn't matter what title you have in front of your name. It doesn't matter what titles you have after your name. It doesn't matter how many certificates you have hanging in your office wall. That we should never think that we're too proud to do the work that our parents or grandparents did when they first came to this country. And that's what I will always remember. While I was finishing up my last semester in graduate school, I met a wonderful person. I met my wife, Gloria. Now, on our third date, keep in mind it's a third date, she asked me, do you think you're smarter than me? I said, what? She said, I just want to know what you're thinking. I said, why would you ever ask somebody on a third date whether you think that they're smarter than you? I just want to know how you think. So she proceeded by showing me a scrapbook of her accomplishments. So she graduated summa cum laude from Cal Poly Pomona in political science with a 3.98 GPA. She graduated #1 in her college. She earned a full merit scholarship to Loyola Law School and was on the law review of her college. She also served on commissions and chaired commissions in the city of Monterey Park, and also interned with a state senator in Sacramento. Okay. So while looking at her accomplishments, we still get into this. We both have A-type personalities. We still get into these debates. But I gave her all the liberal arts, and I kept all the sciences. Okay. But my wife grew up in the city of Monterey Park. She actually grew up in Monterey Highlands, where we still live. She served 2 years as the PTA president and has coached the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in the mock trial competition, where they compete as lawyers at the LA Superior Courthouse in front of real judges and real lawyers. She has been in the past 20 years a senior attorney for Southern California Edison. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you my wife and the First Lady of Monterey Park, Gloria Ng. Now, when we were dating, Gloria said, you got to meet somebody special. She's the mayor of the former mayor of the city of Monterey Park, Louise Davis. And in fact, Louise Davis, who did administered my oath, actually spoke at our wedding almost 20 years ago. But she said, you got to meet Louise. And I remember Louise coming to my office at Home Savings of America. And she came up and spoke to me. And at the end of the conversation, for some reason, she said to me, you know, I predict that one day you're going to lead the city. I predict one day you're going to be mayor of the city of Monterey Park. You know, Louise, it took me 20 years to get to this point. I don't know what other predictions you have in store for me, but the reason why I wanted Louise to administer the oath is for the fact that she mentored my wife when she was an 8th grader at Monterey Highlands when they first met and developed this friendship. Gloria, as an 8th grader, was writing a report on the new mayor of the city of Monterey Park, and that's how their friendship developed, and that's why Louise, people say that in 100 years, people aren't going to remember the house that we live in, or the car that we drive, or how much money we have in the bank. But in 100 years from now, people are going to remember how you changed the life of a child. And thank you, Louise, for changing the life of Gloria, and it's a full circle. Thank you very much. Now, how did I get to that point to running for office? Actually, I don't consider myself a politician. I consider myself more as an activist. In 1994, there was a young developer who wanted to build a $30 million card club casino hotel in our city of Monterey Park. And I decided to oppose it, so I actually created a petition with lines on it and went walking down my street of Monterey Highlands. And people were signing it. And within a 2-hour span, I received a phone call from an active parent named Cindy Yee. And I know Cindy, are you in the audience? Okay, Cindy is back there. Okay. Cindy gave me a call and said, if you know Cindy, this is exactly what I recall. Who are you? Okay. I said, I'm nobody. Well, what are you doing? I said, well, I hear that there's a developer wants to build a casino, and I'm opposed of it. Come to my house, I'll show you how this is done. So she asked me to photocopy 100 of those petitions. And she said, on the back of it, print a map of where City Hall is and indicate when the next council meeting is. So in a span of 10 days, we passed it out to block captains in the Highlands area of Monterey Park and later circulates throughout the city. But Monterey Highlands block captains fought against a parole office that wanted to be built across the street from Santa Fe Market, or what used to be High Hole Market. So every block had a captain. So we passed out these petitions to the captain. And in a 10-day period, we collected 1,500 signatures to oppose the casino in the city. In fact, 750 people showed up to City Hall. In fact, the fire department had to turn people away on the streets because we filled the capacity of the entire building. Okay? In fact, I have with me copy of this petition that was done 15 years ago of all the names of the people who opposed the casino. I did this, and I kept it for one reason, to demonstrate that what two people can do in this community against an enormous developer, but we did it, Cindy. Thank you very much. It was then that the parent groups asked me if I ever had any aspirations for public office, and if I did, they would come out to support me. But that is my story. I served as city treasurer for 1.5 terms for 6 years. And during that time as a city treasurer, people would sometimes stop on my wife and I, and they would suggest that maybe I should run for higher office, like city council. And if you were one that asked me while my wife was standing there, she would stop you in mid-sentence and say, no. You know, and I would look at my wife, I said, wow, you know, you don't have to shout it out, you know. So for the first 6 years as city treasurer, my wife would say, no, you're not running for city council because it's a lot of time commitment. So one day I was cleaning out my garage and my wife opens the door and said, you can run now. I go, run for what? Because you have to realize it's been 6 years of no. So run for what? She goes, you can run for city council now. I said, why? Why now? She said, I saw you as a city treasurer raising money for the Marquepo High School Band and Orchestra. I know you can raise a lot more money as a city council member. And that was the reason she gave. Wow, if I only knew that was the reason. For 4 years now, we've created this concert that you're going to be enjoying after the refreshment time. But this is a concert that's going to showcase the young talents of our community, and I know you guys are going to enjoy it. But once again, let me end this, and there's a lot more people later on I'm going to thank after the certificate ceremony. But remember, when you're drinking water, remember the source. Do not forget the people who helped you from the beginning. Once again, I want to thank all of you for coming here today. God bless you and God bless America. Thank you.